what's happening to our country, whether it's the borders or the elections or kind.
Bro, especially white Christians who literally have run this country since its inception, love a good victimhood narrative. Okay? So it works so well for their taste clusters. It hits their taste clusters in the best possible way. That, like, the Democratic pedophile deep state cabal is coming after Donald Trump. It's basically the boomer geriatric version of Andrew Tate being like, the Matrix is coming after me. Why? Because I've sex trafficked women, and the Matrix doesn't like that. You know what I mean? It's just so good. The persecution complex, the victimhood complex that is like built, that is baked into our existence early on from like the earliest stages of development, finally have something to point to. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they're going after him.
Kinds of things like this where the DOJ has become a weapon for the Democrats, an absolute weapon. And it seems that every time my polls, we're leading by a lot. And we're leading by a lot in a place called Iowa, a lot. And not only with the Republicans, but we're leading against Biden by a tremendous amount. They haven't seen anything like it. And they feel, I guess, they want to try and demean and diminish and frighten people, but they don't frighten us because we're going to make America great again. That's all there is. We're going to make our country, Sean, is a mess. You know it better than anybody. I mean, frankly, your reporting is incredible.
I'll be honest, I have never been more fearful of the state of this country than I am right now.
Yeah.
Fearful about the economy, foreign policy, our future, our kids, our grandkids. I've never been this way.
Well, you look at Biden with these leaders, and they're at the top of their game, and they're looking at each other like they don't even believe what's happening. Our country is no longer respected. Think of it. 3 years ago, energy.
Bro, he's doing the same shit. He said these words verbatim when he ran the first time. Nobody respects Obama. Our country is embarrassed. Why change a working formula? True. It's just the problem is like he was president already. And then he lost. It's going to be hard to get those independents back. Or to even activate the coalition, the winning coalition for the Republican Party from the Donald Trump angle has been the winning coalition for the Republican Party post Donald Trump was not just like suburban voters that are desperate for tax breaks because they're like small business tyrants, or reactionary lumpen proles, or reactionary fucking working class individuals who just like literally think all of their failures in their lives and all the harm doesn't come from their bosses, but comes from like Mexican people or whatever. Those guys, I mean, those guys they're activated, they're motivated. I don't know how motivated they'll be a second time to vote for this guy, especially when they went out, they voted, and he lost to Brandon. But there are other groups within the party, like other reliable voter groups in the party that are not coming out in droves for Trump anymore. You know what I mean? And part of the reason for why is because they don't think that he's delivering. They think that he's like too much of a goofball. They think that when he's in power, they remember COVID. They remember how terribly that was mismanaged. They remember how awful they felt that back then. But I'm not going to sit here and say Trump's chances are really, really poor. They're not. Because Trump did lose, but he didn't lose by all that much. And you also have to take into consideration that he literally fucking lost because he got COVID right before the election, where the primary issue was COVID. People always forget the fact there, Donald Trump getting COVID right before the election. Like, there is no better way to remind everybody. The COVID this time around was basically the Jim Comey, Hillary Clinton corruption reminder for everybody. You know what I mean? In my opinion, it is journalistic malpractice to not write more think pieces on that.
Independent, powerful military that was totally rebuilt. The president announced 3 days ago, which he should never have said, probably classified information, that we have no ammunition. Now, what do you think China says when they hear we have no ammunition? No, it's a very, very sad thing. If you look at the worst border in history, we had the best border in history. We had 3 years ago the best border we've ever had. We built hundreds of miles of wall. We got Mexico free of charge. You know, they say about Mexico. Mexico gave us billions of dollars worth of soldiers for years.
Are you implying if major media outlets are zooming in on you on your balcony to see if you're dying, that's bad for your campaign? Weird. Yeah, I mean, exactly. That is exactly what I'm implying, obviously. But also, like, COVID was shitty, okay? And I say was because in the eyes of the public, COVID is over, right? But COVID, that time, is not a winning strategy. Like, reminding people of COVID, for example, like Ron DeSantis tries to, is a fucking massive lose-lose strategy, because even your greatest defenders don't want to think about that time, because the most terrifying thing that could have happened to them was not be able to get their jalapeno poppers at Applebee's or national fast food chains that shut down. So, you know, even on the side where like COVID didn't actually, even in places where COVID didn't actually shut down any of the industry, like fucking Alabama, you also are reminded of your grandfather dying of COVID alone, scared, in a fucking hospital room that you couldn't visit. You know what I mean? Like, it only brings up really bad memories for everybody, for every American, no matter what. So that, in some ways, I think, will be good for Trump, because Trump stands to benefit a lot from never talking about COVID. So that was huge. That was huge for Biden originally.
28,000 soldiers guarding our border. We had the best numbers we've ever had. Today we have, I think, the worst numbers in the world, because I don't think there's any country in the world that would stand for what's happening to us, with millions of people flowing in from, by the way, mental institutions, insane asylums. They don't like me using those names, insane asylums. But we have very bad, very sick people, very ill people coming into our country, prisons and jails all over the world. And it's not the four countries that we sort of...
Yeah, prisons and jails all over the world are sending their mentally ill criminals to America. Totally. Yeah. The homeless person down the street is not a fucking veteran of the United States military, but instead some random fucking, Guatemalan guy. Like, come on. That's so fucking stupid.
of consider neighbors. It's all over. Last week, we had 129 countries, representatives of people that came into our country illegally. And we're losing our country, and we're losing the spirit of our country. But I will tell you, Make America Great Again and MAGA and America First and all of these things that we talk about, there's never been more spirit. Look at this crowd. There's never been more spirit than we have right now. 2024. 2024 is the most important election that we've ever had. And I used to say it with 2016, and I meant it 100%. But we're going into almost a communistic state, and I think maybe we're even there. When you look at what they're doing with, you could call it fascist, you could call it Marxist, you could call it communist. What they're doing, like with the Department of Justice, they've totally weaponized it. It's weaponized like we've never had this before. It's not only me. Catholics, you see what's happening? Parents at school boards, they're being harassed by the Justice Department, by the FBI. Nobody's ever seen what's happening right now. And we have a guy, the head of this country. It's probably not him, it's people around him. They have people that are vicious and smart and have horrible ideas for our country. So it's really the people, in my opinion, because I don't think this guy can put together 2 sentences. I watched him last night. He's almost incapable of talking. And, you know, we have...
I'm not sure he knows today's Tuesday, sir.
Well, we have a problem. We have the potential...
God, Sean Hannity is such a fucking annoying little dick rider, dude. He is the worst. He's so much of a simp that I feel like other simps of Donald Trump have to be like, this guy's unfucking bearable. I don't know. Maybe they like it.
Potential of a war beyond the war with Russia and Ukraine, and that would have never happened before. By the way, if I were president, that would have never happened. If I were president, Ukraine and Russia.
I want to get to that. You know, I came here today and I watched the 2 hours with Mark Levin. I watched your hour with Tucker. I watched your hour with Brett Baer. You did 2 hours with me. I watched you on Maria. I watch your interviews, and on fake news CNN. I watched that too.
Well, that was a good one. That was a good one. They had a town hall.
That was a Trump
They
classic.
ended up firing the head of CNN. And they got the highest ratings in 11 years, and they fired. It's supposed to be the opposite.
By the way, you might want to start a show, and at the end of every show, say to somebody, you're fired. That would work, right?
You're fired.
All right. But I wanted to talk about the problems.
Oh, my God. He's so pathetic. Like, I don't know how one can debase themselves to this degree. Like, his lips are so puckered from slopping him, dude. It's just... 90% of the crowd looks like they're one slice of cheesecake away from resting internally. You know, Kai's assistant, what you're saying would be true if they all hadn't absolutely recovered from COVID. Like, there is not a single person in that crowd that didn't have to go to the hospital for COVID. Okay? They all did, and they all survived, and now they're stronger than before.
And the solution.
They can never taste. They will never be able to taste food ever again in the same way. They'll constantly complain about it. They'll constantly complain about how, like... They'll constantly complain about how, you know, nothing tastes the same anymore. Food doesn't taste the same no more. This shit is so fucked up. Not realizing that it's like a you problem, most likely because they have like long COVID and shit. But that will make them even more irritable and more annoying to deal with.
In other words, identify the problems and the solutions.
Okay.
We cannot ignore today's events. Today, when you put out your Truth Social post. And by that, I want to talk about what is clearly now what the Judiciary Committee under Jim Jordan is looking into, whether or not our FBI and our Department of Justice have been weaponized and politicized. And I have 2 headlines here. You know, FBI tipped off Biden team, Secret Service, about plan to interview Hunter, according to a supervisory agent who retired. Tomorrow, there will be another IRS whistleblower, just like this man, Mr. Chapley, who came out and said, no, he should have been indicted on felony charges, and I've been doing this, meaning Hunter Biden. Then I can take you back, and you know that I covered this every single night, and my show was vindicated on the issue of Trump-Russia collusion that never occurred. The Durham report corroborated it, the Horowitz report. It's a long way of me asking this very simple, basic question. And that is, if you look at Hillary Clinton and the way she was treated, no prosecutor would prosecute, 33,000 subpoenaed emails deleted, devices destroyed. Then her dirty dossier. And that dossier was used to get 4 FISA warrants. And then you look at the FBI in 2019. They had Hunter Biden's laptop in December of 2019. They verified it in March of 2020. And yet,
I feel like Hillary Clinton not being in the public eye as much has to also hurt this, like, Hillary Clinton's emails narrative. You know what I mean? Because, like, she's not really out there. People forget. Like, at a certain point, and by the way, okay, let me just explain this. Okay. The greatest way, yeah, it was 8 years ago at this point. Who gives a shit about deleted emails? Lamau, I know. The greatest way to describe Republican grievance politics is a guy in 2020 wearing a Vietnamese veteran jacket with the words, "I'll never forgive you, Jane Fonda." Okay? That captures the essence of how long Republicans hold on to certain grievances. Okay? By the way, I want that jacket so fucking bad. It's one of the coolest pieces of merchandise you could ever have. But it's like that kind of shows what, like, how to the lengths that Republicans will go to like maintain their battles. However, having said that, no matter how much you try to like make people fucking go crazy, explain this, please. I don't know who that is. Jane Fonda was an anti-war activist at the time. She was a very famous celebrity. She went to fucking Vietnam and actually showed the positive side of the North Vietnamese army, and you know, and they hate her. They hate her for it. They've hated her for it since that day. They called her Hanoi Jane. Where is it? Here. Opposition to Vietnam War. In 1970 April, Fonda, Fred Gardner, and Donald Sutherland formed the FDA tour, Free the Army, and played a troop expression, Fuck the Army, an anti-war roadshow designed to answer to Bob Hope's USO tour. The tour, described as a political vaudeville by Fonda, visited military towns along the West Coast, aimed to establish a dialogue with soldiers in upcoming deployments to Vietnam. The dialogue was made into a movie. Then she went to Hanoi. Between 1965 and 1972, almost 300 Americans, mostly civil rights activists, teachers, and pastors, traveled to North Vietnam to see the first-hand situation of the Vietnamese. News media in the United States predominantly provided a U.S. viewpoint, and Americans traveled to North Vietnam were routinely harassed upon their return. Fonda also visited Vietnam, traveling to Hanoi in 1972 to witness firsthand the bombing damage to the dikes. After touring and photographing the dike systems in North Vietnam, she said the United States had been intentionally targeting it. Columnist Joseph Kraft, who was also touring North Vietnam, said he believed the damage to the dikes was incidental and was being used as propaganda by Hanoi. Ooh, shocking. So surprised that an American columnist said, no, Jane Fonda is doing propaganda for the fucking North Vietnamese. The U.S. Air Force were truly going after the dikes. It would do so in a methodical, not harem-scarum way, is what he said. Which, by the way, remember, the United States famously would never go after infrastructure in a harem-scarum way, especially not in Vietnam. Sweden's ambassador to Vietnam, however, observed the bomb damage to the dikes described as methodic. Other journalists reported that the attacks were aimed at the whole system of dikes. Fonda was photographed seated on a North Vietnamese anti-aircraft gun. The photo outraged a number of Americans and earned her the nickname Hanoi Jane. She also kind of cowardly said that she was manipulated into sitting on top of the battery. She had been horrified at the implications of the pictures. In a 2011 entry at her official website, Fonda explained, yeah, he translated as they sung. It was a song about the day Uncle Ho declared their country's independence in Hanoi's Baden Square. I heard these words, all men are created equal. They are given certain rights. Among these are life, liberty, and happiness. These are the words Ho pronounced at the historic ceremony. I began to cry and clap. These young men should not be our enemy. They celebrate the same words Americans do. Well, that's probably because Ho Chi Minh was also a massive Ameriboo, for the record. He was awesome. And he also was a gigantic Ameriboo. What's with the lesbian hate? Come on. That's not the only way that the term dyke is used, okay? Please. Jesus Christ. Ugh. Everyone's like trying to make jokes, but also like, one, the joke is cringe in and of itself, but also doesn't even fucking matter because like there are people who will take it seriously and they'll go, Hasan, you should use a different word and not that word or something. Okay. So anyway, it doesn't matter. A lot of people still hold on to that and fucking hate her. That was the point. What are your thoughts on Marianne Williamson? I saw she was at the writer/actor strike. I will be having Marianne Williamson here live on the broadcast tomorrow. So you can ask questions that you have towards her then.
FBI agents in the months leading up to that election were meeting with big tech companies, telling them, according to Yoel Roth, the former Twitter integrity site head, telling them that it might be about Joe or Hunter. That laptop story got censored. The American people were denied the truth about what would be a bombshell story.
And by the way, it still is censored because they haven't really gotten into the meat with all of the great reporting done, and there has been some great reporting done. Generally speaking, the press is fake. It's fake, and it's just horrible, actually. But there's still been some great reporters and great reporting done, and you are at the lead. You've been incredible. But when you look, but Sean, when you look at that, they haven't even gotten to the bottom of the laptop. They don't want to put the pictures in. They don't want to. They have pictures in there that anybody else, they go away for 10 years. What happened to Hunter is he got a traffic ticket. Other people are being sentenced to many years in jail for doing much less. He got a traffic ticket. The only good thing is the people know it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Now, Jim Jordan and Jamie Comer, these guys are doing a great job.
I don't get it. Like, isn't your situation kind of similar? Like everyone else in your shoes would have gone to jail like a million times over. Also an odd situation because it's like, well, the Justice Department needs to fucking stop coming after me and start coming after Hunter Biden.
But the problem is you find out the crime, but nothing happens with it. Instead, they go after you.
Like, for example, Hillary Clinton's home wasn't raided.
Yeah.
Joe Biden's garage wasn't raided. The UPenn Center wasn't raided. The University of Delaware wasn't raided. His home, beach home, I don't know how he affords a beach home on a senator's salary, that wasn't raided. Hunter Biden is being protected, obviously. Cocaine in the White
It's so funny that Joe Biden, literally one of the brokest fucking presidents and senators, it's not even a joke. During his vice presidential tenure, his son got fucking cancer. And he was about to put a down payment, or he was about to put a second mortgage on his house so he could pay for it. Remember, this dude And I'm not saying this as like a sob story. Like, look how nice Obama is for giving him a fucking loan. Obama paid for his son's cancer treatment. It's mind-boggling to me that this dude was directly impacted by his own fucking, like, by by his own administration's policies. Sorry. He's at a senatorial salary for 50 years. How the hell can he have a beach house? This is actually hilarious. What the fuck's he on? Yeah, he's also like 700 years old. Like, I think the more significant part about it is not that he's at a senatorial salary for 50 years, but he's had a salary consistently for 50 years. The 50 years part is more important than the senator part because it's so fucking old that, like, when he first started in the Senate, you could buy houses. You know what I mean? Anyway, my point is, it has always boggled my mind, at least, that Joe Brandon did it for the love of the game in many respects, and didn't actually even get a fucking fat payout for how much he sold American citizens. How much he sold out American citizens. It's really fucking shitty. It makes it even worse, I think.
White House 10-day investigation. They literally interview nobody. Okay, investigation's over. Would that have happened in your White House?
Well, listen to this. Even you mentioned the beach home. Well, the beach home had all these documents in it, right? It was by the Corvette. They're on the floor, classified documents.
No, that's not the beach home. The beach home was another place they found.
No, this is also the beach home. And they had the Corvette, where they had the Corvette. Yeah. And a tremendous amount of payment was made for that home by somebody to Joe Biden. And it was a big story for about one day, and then you don't hear about it anymore. It's incredible. But when you look at the documents all over the place, whatever happened to that one? They go after me on documents, and I have the Presidential Records Act, which is a big deal. And the Presidential Records Act is an act. Thank you.
Why weren't their homes raided?
They know better than anybody else.
Why weren't their homes raided?
Well, let me just tell you, I'm protected by Presidential Records Act.
I wonder why. Why weren't their homes raided? Dude. The thing that frustrates me so much about this kind of content is that, like, the answer is so simple, man. Like, they're just actively stupefying their audiences further. Like, 90% of Republican commentary isn't even just vice signaling any longer. It's vice signaling built on top of, like, asking very normal questions that, like, a 5-year-old could potentially have answers for. The entire fucking Republican commentary circuit has turned into tide goes in, tide goes out. Nobody can explain it. I don't know how that's working. Like, how the fuck? What are we doing? Like, he's asking the dumbest question, knowing full well that every single geriatric fuck in that building has no idea. Sean Hannity knows the differences. He's smart enough to know. It's so dumb. They don't even come up with, like, a clever retort anymore. At least back in the day, like, the Mitch McConnell wing of the Republican Party would come up with, like, clever ways to deflect away, shift the blame, maybe take some pot shots against the opposition. Nowadays, they're literally so fucking lazy. They just go, yeah, they didn't raid Biden's house. Why did they raid yours? Applause. Like, no additional point needs to be made because the audience is so fucking stupid. They're like, yeah, you're right. Hasan thinks he's so clever. I don't. You're insecure about your own intellect if you think that I think I'm clever. I don't. I say I'm a fucking idiot all the time, okay? I am a fucking moron. I say this every goddamn day. You, on the other hand, go, he's speaking big words. He must think he's fancy, big city lawyer, clever boy, huh? No, I'm dumb as fuck, dude. It doesn't matter. Just because I'm a dumbass doesn't mean I can't recognize what they're doing. It's so simple. The reason why, here, I'll explain it. The reason why Joe Brandon didn't get raided, or Mike Pence, by the way, which they're not mentioning here, didn't get fucking raided, is because they cooperated with the authorities. The only reason why Donald Trump is currently under investigation is because he didn't cooperate with authorities. Like, they gave him the option to do the Joe Brandon style, come in, extract all the files. No, even before then, even before the Joe Brandon and Michael Pence situation, they straight up said, you can give us the files back. We know you have them. You're not supposed to have them. Can we please have these files? He lied to them. He kept the files. He knew he wasn't supposed to have the files. He openly stated he was not supposed to have the files. He knew he didn't declassify the files while he was president. Like, he basically gift wrapped the goddamn gift to the Department of Justice to conduct an open and shut court case, which every Republican politician and every Republican commentator knows. They are basically lying to their audience over and over again and trying to get them to believe that at the top of the hour, there's no 3-minute ad break. But there is one. And if you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you could do for $5 or for free. I hit you so hard with that debate that the chat had a fucking... Like, the chat didn't even figure out it was happening. If you no longer want to see those ads, like I said, you can subscribe for $5 or free or get gifted a sub. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. That's the worst part, though. Not the top of the hour ad break. Impolo 18, thank you for the 5 gifted. Vera 42, thank you for the 10 gifted. The worst part about it is that the audience is too stupid to know better. But Sean Hannity knows better. You know, Brian Kill Myself knows better. Greg Douchey knows better. Peter Douchey knows better. Tommy Lauren knows better. They all know better. They know what the truth is. But their job is to fucking say the most idiotic shit to these neck-bearded, mouth-breathing hogs. As if your audience is more than 10 IQ points smarter. He openly said they rejected a deal to pay him for the files. Wait, what? He openly said they rejected a deal to pay him for the files. What are you talking about? By the way, the fact that that's a 947 means how aggro these chatters are for not rating me appropriately. Anyway, they're not his files. Anyway. Does this shit all the time, and it's very frustrating. Like, watching mainstream media actively make their fucking audiences dumber is so frustrating. Like, does liberal media do similar things? Are they annoying? Are they smarmy? Do they often lie by omission? Abso-fucking-lutely. Look no further than half of the coverage during labor moves on CNN and whatnot. I shit on liberal media regularly. Right? I hate that. But at the very least, the only time where they engage like reactionary Republicans is when they're covering foreign policy stuff. Foreign policy that is a direct mouthpiece for the American State Department and our foreign interests. Outside of that, at least when they're covering normal shit, like they'll be smarmy, they'll be annoying, they'll lie by omission. But they at least make the effort to give you the facts, but slant it in a way that genuinely benefits whatever liberal narrative they're crafting. They also tend to, in a ham-fisted way, attack Democrats as well for not being conservative enough. Whereas Republican media is just so noticeably bad that they very openly do this shit where they're just like, yeah, there's no differences certainly between, the Biden situation, the Mike Pence situation, and the Trump situation. Not at all.
And they come up with this obscure, crazy theory, a madman theory. This guy is a deranged prosecutor who's had tremendous failures all over the place. He's a nasty, horrible human being. They come after me. Now Biden has many thousands. I mean, he's got 2,000, almost 2,000 boxes of documents. They can't get to him because the college or whatever that has him doesn't want to give him. And he probably told the college. But more importantly, China gives millions of dollars to UPenn. That's where he has some. He's got them all over the place. And maybe worst of all, he's got documents in China.
Wait, brother, you graduated from University of Pennsylvania. What the fuck is he saying? Dude, he literally went to Wharton. What is happening right now? Like China's giving millions of dollars to UPenn, the college I graduated from.
Chinatown, in Chinatown, many, many documents, boxes of documents. You don't ever hear about this. All you hear about is Trump. And I'm totally covered by the Presidential Records Act and also by the Clinton Socks case. You know.
Oh, God. He's talking about the Chinese foreign students at UPenn and the massive uptick in tuition money they're making there. Do you think Biden is in any way, shape, or form connected to UPenn beyond, like, offering some of these senatorial documents that he had for maintenance and for, like, I don't know, I guess, research purposes to the University of Pennsylvania? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? His relationship with UPenn would, in a normal person's brain, his relationship with UPenn would be more significant than Joe Biden's relationship with UPenn, which is precisely the reason why. Why the fuck would he just mention it?
What that is. That's where Clinton took out tapes in his socks and he put them in his drawer. And they sued him just on a very civil basis. And he ended up winning the lawsuit. And the judge said he can have whatever he wants. And that's called the Presidential Records.
What about Sandy Berger shoving documents down his pants?
Oh, there are many instances of it. But especially when you're president, and Joe Biden wasn't president. You're only covered by the Presidential Records Act if you're president. Joe Biden wasn't president. In fact, Joe Biden was senator for many years, and they've got a lot of classified documents when he was senator, and other Democrat senators can't even believe the fact that he has these documents.
I mean, the Clintons did do that. Yeah, I know. Except Joe Brandon isn't the Clintons. Well, he should have arrested her then. I hate that. He was the fucking president. He literally is currently under, he's currently charged with additional offenses that he signed into law. Okay? Like, his mandates made it so that it was a worse criminal punishment for mismanaging classified documents.
Can't even, they said, I watched Dick Durbin. Here's another beauty. I watched Dick Durbin saying, I can't believe that he took them. He couldn't even believe it. So it's a two-tier system, but it's worse than that. It's a very corrupt system.
Okay, so my question to you is, when you see that Hillary had top secret classified information and the conclusion of Jim Comey, no prosecutor would ever prosecute, 33,000 subpoenaed emails deleted, devices destroyed. Okay, then we have the FBI in early October of 2016 sent agents over the pond to meet with Christopher Steele. They offered him $1 million to verify any part of that dossier.
To get Trump.
Okay, they couldn't verify it. Then, in late October, even though it wasn't verified, they used that, according to Andrew McCabe, Deputy FBI Director, without that dirty dossier.
It's another funny moment because, like, that very same FBI that supposedly was engaging in malpractice by investigating Trump's ties to Russian envoys, not just due to the Christopher Steele document, which was bullshit, but literally because his own campaign managers, like members of his campaign, were quite literally telling random Australian nationals, for example, that they had dirt on the Clintons from Russia. Okay? That is, Steele dossier is not bullshit. It fucking absolutely is. That's where the piss tape narrative comes from. No, the Christopher Steele dossier is full of ridiculous nonsense. Okay? But that's not the only reason why. That's not the only reason why the authorities were investigating Trump's campaign's connections into Russia. It was an incredibly fucking valid reason. It was a valid reason. It's just really stupid that they're still running on this narrative. They're still talking about this shit. They're relitigating stuff that happened before Trump became president.
They would never have gotten those FISA warrants approved. Now, they knew that they couldn't verify it. The Durham report confirmed.
The Durham report does not confirm any of the things that they're claiming. I hate myself for even knowing any of these things. The Durham report took many, many years to finally end, okay? This investigation was into Mueller and also into like the FBI's misdealings potentially with respect to them surveilling the Trump campaign, with respect to like the Russiagate stuff. They looked into it, and the only thing that happened, the only thing that came after the Durham report was that there was one guy, one fucking lawyer that got a stern warning from the judge for I guess being too gung ho and pushing for surveillance when he should not have. That's it. It doesn't help that a lot of media is now saying that the Russia connection wasn't valid. Look at the breaking points, folks, and other independent media. First of all, the Russian connection wasn't valid. That doesn't mean that it was not investigatable. It certainly met the, like, this has been my narrative and my sentiment since Trump was president. I always said the Russiagate conspiracies were ridiculous. However, investigating Trump's links to Russia was not. There was enough there to try and see if there was more to it. That's it. Hold up. Kaya is free? Yeah. Wait, what? Kaya is free? Do you think it's more likely Trump didn't collude with Russia or that he was able to obfuscate and hide it well? They are calling the holding a farce. It was a Democratic move. Okay, first of all, I'm sorry. No disrespect to the Breaking Points folks or other independent media, but their attitude on this is so entirely unrelated and irrelevant that I feel ridiculous covering what they're saying on this matter, especially with respect to what we're like we're talking about, like MSNBC, CNN, news, mainstream media, legacy publishers, and you're coming in here and going, oh, well, technically the Breaking Points folks said this about Russiagate. It's like, yeah, of course they said that. Who gives a shit, though? We're talking about Fox News and we're talking about CNN, okay? These are the guys who are breaking the brains of your boomer parents in different ways. We talk a lot about how DeSantis is hitching his campaign to really niche online shit, but I think Trump is doing that too, honestly. Ask the average voter if they know half the shit that Hannity has mentioned. There's no shot. No, that's with Republicans is a little bit different. Like, he is tailoring his sentiment to the Fox. He's tuning it to the Fox News audience for sure. Like, this is what the Fox News audience kind of knows about because they've been watching Fox News like a soap opera from the jump. So this is like soap opera characters that he's like talking about.
None of it was true. And yet they will use that as a backdoor to spy on your campaign and your presidency.
Yep.
Is that a dual system of justice?
And the whole thing with Pfizer was horrible. But you know, one thing we did that was so great, I fired Comey very early. And a lot of people said, oh, you should have done it. Well, you know, they're given a term. They're given a term very early. Not immediately early, but very early in a few months. And I got rid of this guy. And by doing that, it was like you threw a rock at a hornet's nest. The whole thing collapsed. You saw the love letters back and forth with the different people talking about the insurance policy. You know what the insurance policy, that was against me.
That was how to
If she, for some reason, loses, darling, we have an insurance policy. The insurance policy is they'll get me out. One way or the other, they'll get me out. Because you know what? This is 30, 35 years of being put into government. And you get there. And initially, I didn't know people in Washington. I was there 17 times in my entire life. I never stayed over before this. All of a sudden, I'm president of the United States. I relate. And we had tremendous people also. Don't forget, biggest tax cuts in history, biggest regulation cuts in history, rebuilt our military, took out ISIS, took out Soleimani, took out al-Baghdadi, the two biggest terrorists in the world. I mean, what we did was incredible. Strongest.
So funny fucking being like a boomer in that room and going, hell yeah, biggest tax cuts ever. I fucking love that, baby. Like, none of that shit is good for you, dumbass. It's not.
Border we've ever had. Everything was good. No inflation. Best economy in history. We did all of this stuff. We had tremendous people. Look, they made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Sorry, we had tremendous people. But we also had some. You rely on others. You rely on people that you knew. You rely on other politicians to give you answers. And you find out that they are rhinos or they gave you bad advice. So we had some that weren't good. But when you think, Comey had a term. He had many years left in that term. I said, this guy's bad news. I realized it very early in the administration. I fired him. And it was wild. That's when we found out all of the corruption. Had I not fired Comey, you wouldn't know any of the things that you were talking about.
You think they would have destroyed you?
Well, they were trying to take me out. Yeah, they were trying to take me out. I mean, it was like a coup. It was like a coup. Had I not, you know, it's very interesting. Some people that are very smart, that you know very well, said when I did it, oh, that was a mistake, you're going to cause. Now they say it was the greatest instinctual move they've ever seen because Comey was a very bad guy, and Comey led that group of thugs in there, and they were doing a number. It's very dishonest. It's years and years of putting in people, Democrats and rhinos and other people, but putting them into office. And we got rid of a lot of them, but we're going to get rid of a lot more, because you have some bad people.
One more question on this. In the past, I think it's been a mistake. I'm like,
Dude, this is kind of mid. Donald Trump, they haven't gotten the bottom of the Hunter Biden laptop. Don't care. Firing Trump was a great thing we did. Every single time he talks about what the Democrats are doing and like how fucked up it is, it always comes across like he's sad that he's not doing it or he wasn't able to do it to the Democrats when he was president. Like, he quite literally will openly state his interest in prosecuting his political opposition. I mean, that's not an exaggeration. He did run on lock her up. And then he failed to do so. And now he's just like, you know, saying the Democrats are doing it to me. And then immediately turning around and saying, but I want to do it to them. I failed to do so, but I'm going to do it next time. Like, hold this fucking L.